1919, he opened up the Institute for Sexualwissenschaft, basically Institute for Sexology.
Isn't that the year that World War I started?
1919.
And it was specifically because of him opening the Institute for Sexual Studies.
I thought it ended in 1918. Yeah, 1914 to 1918 was World War One.
Oh, okay.
So not long after World War One.
Yeah.
He opened that up in Berlin. It was, if you're picturing like an institute, like a big build, it was like a villa. I mean,
okay.
It was described as being like a mix between sort of like homey, sort of, like a kind of casual vibe, and like, kind of a professional institute space.
It was like an LGBT centre.
Yes.
Yes.
It was like, picture an LGBT centre that also does like research and gives surgeries and stuff. It's like Planned Parenthood mixed with a community centre, basically, right? But I guess specifically focused on the gays, and they're doing research. So there were like a journalist went in apparently, and it says here, a journalist reported it could not be a scientific institute because it was furnished, plush, and full of life everywhere. Which is like, no, I mean, don't take it like badly. Like, it's too nice to be a place of science.
Yeah,
like, which is like a nice little compliment to some extent. It apparently its purposes were to be a place of research, teaching, healing, and refuge that could free the individual from physical ailments, psychological afflictions, and social deprivation. So he would also be sort of teaching there. He, during medical school, apparently, Hirschfeld, he watched like a gay dude be trotted in naked and berated for being gay.
Oh.
Weird that was a thing that happened, right? Like, okay, tomorrow we're working on the cadavers, and then you'll get some, bedside manner training or whatever. But today we're gonna point at a gay, and oh boy, are we gonna give him some emotional battery? It's like, does that make you a better doctor? I don't know. But yeah, so he was paraded naked before the class, it says in this article, to be verbally abused as a degenerate.
Sounds about right.
That's so weird. Are we doing anything now that in 20, 30, 50, 100 years is going to be like, why were we doing that?
I mean, we're doing stuff now that now is going to be, why are we doing that?
We're doing stuff now that 10 years ago we'd be like, that's screwed up.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't look into what's going on in the US when it comes to bills around trans people and bathrooms and sports and the UK too.
I have friends in Florida that have to move because they've banned gender affirming care, so they just can't get, that's like, 25 years old can't get his testosterone prescription.
Insane.
Yeah, and especially if you've had, say, the organs that produce sex hormones in your body.
You had a hysterectomy.
I'm gonna say if you've had not just that, like if anyone's had that, whether you've had testes removed or
Yeah, you need hormones.
You need hormones.
Yeah.
So if you've had those removed,
you're just screwed.
That's not good.
No.
You're screwed unless they say, oh well, we can give you the hormones that we want you to have.
Yeah.
There you go. Like, messed up. So, I mean, that was now. Let's go back to the past where things were bad. In some ways, much, much worse.
In most ways, much better.
In most ways, much, much worse.
I mean, like, back then there were... I mean, if you were trans, and most people who were trans didn't come out, but...
This was 1919.
Yeah, they did have the Second World War on the way.
The First World War just ended. The Second World War is on the way. And the Nazis were coming to power in Germany. I think for specifically this institute,
sure,
it was almost in all ways much worse. But they didn't have Twitter, so which one's it going to go?
We don't know what's coming. We don't know what's coming.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
Great.
They're going to start rounding up science podcasters. Specifically for us, this is bad.
First they came for the science podcasters.
And no one gave a shit.
Everyone cheered. That's where they ended. The world got better after that somehow. No, so he was working, throughout this time he was also working to overturn paragraph 175, the anti-gay law, essentially. He could not do that. It didn't work. He got transvestite identity cards for his patients that were apparently legally accepted, which would stop them from getting arrested for openly dressing and living as the opposite sex.
Wow, what a legend.
It was illegal to be trans, but it wasn't illegal to cross-dress, or is it the other way around?
No, it was illegal to be gay.
Okay.
It was illegal to have sex with another man as a man. But it was also illegal to, arrested for openly dressing and living as the opposite sex. So I guess it would have been illegal to do that.
Well, unless it's illegal, unless you have a card.
Unless you had your transvestite card.
Oh, okay.
What a weird world. There are some really weird people in the world. And they're still here.
Which is weird though, because this doesn't seem too far off. It's like, oh, have you got your transgender certificate? Have you got your certificate?
My gender recognition certificate.
Yeah, your certificate of transgenderness, your transgender card. Have you got that? Yeah. Oh no, you haven't. Well, you don't get all the rights that we. No,
you can't pee then.
Look,
no pee for you.
Being realistic here is, I mean, what's your opinion, Noah? These legally accepted transvestite identity cards, how far off, that prevent you from being arrested for openly dressing and living as the opposite sex? For example, using the correct restrooms or changing rooms and whatnot. How far off is that from a gender recognition certificate today, and where we're heading with all of this stuff?
How far off is that?
Yeah, like how different are those two concepts?
They're both like a piece of paper that other people have decided means that you can just be yourself.
Yeah, do the same as everyone else.
Yes, there's no reason that people should have to get gender recognition certificates. Shouldn't exist.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not saying that these two things are exactly the same. I'm just trying to draw a comparison in some people's minds between, especially now that we're apparently looking at a potential bathroom ban in the UK. Right?
Well, yes, the Equality Act of, when is it, 2010 or something. They're looking at specifically removing the articles about trans people and changing the meaning of sex to mean literally just like assigned sex at birth.
Oh, so even a gender recognition certificate wouldn't...
Well, it would just mean that, like, if I wanted to use a men's bathroom because I wasn't assigned male at birth, I wouldn't be able to.
But if you had a GRC, that changes your birth certificate, so would that...
I'm not sure. Well, they're literally just talking about it. It's bad.
Bad. Yeah, no, and it is, but like what I want to highlight there as well is that is, if that happens, that is kind of functionally... If a gender recognition certificate means that your birth certificate gets changed and you're then allowed to live as though you were assigned that sex at birth.
Yeah, no, it's specifically for people that were assigned with their sex at birth. So I assume that the GRC wouldn't work.
So what would be happening there, by the way, is that we would be moving to a place that is behind 1919 Germany.
Yeah.
For trans rights. If that doesn't put it in perspective for you, there you go. But hey, by all means, continue loving J.K. Rowling and thinking that she's just looking out for women's rights, because I'm sure the Nazis were also just looking out for German rights, but not the Jewish ones, the gay ones, the Romani ones, the all the other ones, the disabled ones, the mentally ill ones, transgenders. Have I said them?
Yes.
Yeah. God. German rights. Anyway, so I more about the space. He was also a feminist, the dude. So it had room for offices that were given to feminist activists. It had a printing house for sex reform journals, which were supposed to dispel myths about sexuality. Apparently, here's a quote from this article. It says, "Love," Hirschfeld said, "is as varied as people are."
Yes.
Very sweet. And then it became a library as well. There were so many texts there about so many different topics, specifically transition. So at this point, really, I mean, scientifically speaking, unfortunately, MTF, like male to female transition, is generally just easier in a number of ways, right?
As in like bottom surgery.
Medically, it was where the technology was. It was.
Bottom surgery for trans women, I think, advanced much earlier.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. So they had books. They had books on this. Literally, it said diagrams and protocols for male to female surgical transition. So he had psychiatrists. He had a gynecologist. They had they sort of, so the gynecologist was Ludwig Levi-Lenz. They worked with a surgeon, Erwin Gorbant, and they basically started giving out MTF surgeries. So it was called Genitalum Wandlung, literally meaning transformation of genitals. So
witchcraft.
Witchcraft.
That sounds like a spell.
Treading a mighty fine line.
I keep forgetting the witch thing. It just sounds like a spell. It's transformation.
Yeah, no, I know.
Etc. etc. No unintentional references intended.
Yeah, no, I get it. Don't worry. And it's not just that. So I mean, this was multiple stages. The bottom surgery they were giving out: castration, penectomy, and vaginoplasty. Basically, removing the testes,
oophorectomy,
getting rid of that penis, and then making a lovely vagina instead.
Yeah,
3 stages. Very, very. I was going to say very quick and easy. No, it's surgery. At the beginning of that kind of surgery, it was a lot, but they were doing so much good work. Now you may know one of their patients.
Yes.
who was one of their patients. Lily Elba.
Lily Elba, that's it.
Is this the person who was played by
Eddie Redmayne?
The Danish
Yeah.
girl. Yeah, that she was mentioned in a previous episode of ours. They would also give out hormone therapy as well. Did a bunch of groundbreaking studies. As I said, had a massive bloody library, and because some of the trans women that they helped really struggled to work afterwards because hey, they're trans women and people don't like trans women very much. Glad that we've got over that. Glad trans women are as equally loved today as everyone else.
That.
So these women had difficulty getting work because they were trans and people didn't like trans people back then. Much. If you're confused about this, just think about what's happening today. So what
it was black and white back then.
Yeah, and so what they did was they hired a bunch of them to work at the facility. So 5 got jobs at the institute because they couldn't be hired anywhere else. So it's like what I really want to get across here is that this wasn't just I am a science man and I want to take people and I would blah blah da da da.
It's community.
It's like a community space. He's helping people genuinely. Here are surgeries. Here are hormones to help you. Oh, you can't find work? Come and work here. Feminists, you want a space? There you go. Oh, here's all of this literature on all of these topics, and here's this published stuff to make things like he was a proper bloody activist and a scientist, and I guess a doctor as well. He did so much good stuff. So he wanted to provide a safe space for people who were gender non-conforming, people who were gay, homosexual, any of that sort of thing, any of the LGBTs or whatever. He wanted to provide a safe space for them, and he did, and it all went very well. And that's the end of the story.
Nothing bad happened at all.
What happened to them books? They still got them books. I'd like to read them books.
So in 1933, the Nazis
burned everything down.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
they like doing that. They did that quite a lot.